Here are today's top stories. The Integrated Bar of the Philippines endorses the nomination of Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio as the next Chief Justice. Cordillerans express support for the shift to federalism as the Cordillera region seeks autonomy. The Office of the Solicitor General calls for the junking of the petition to allow same-sex marriages. And the National Commission for Culture and the Arts honors Kalinga tattoo artist Apo Huang Od for her contributions to Filipino culture. Good day. I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Integrated Bar of the Philippines has nominated Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio as the next Chief Justice. Carpio was one of the justices who voted against the removal of Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno. More on this from Janice Cabe.
The Integrated Bar of the Philippines endorsed the nomination of Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio for the Chief Justice position, which is now vacant following the ouster of Maria Lourdes Sereno. The lawyers group, led by Abdiel Dan Elijah Fajardo, said the IBP recognizes the long-standing tradition of seniority in the appointment to the highest office of the judiciary. Traditionally, the 5 most senior justices of the High Court are automatically nominated for the Chief Justice post. Carpio earlier said he would decline all nominations for the top judiciary post, stressing that he doesn't want to benefit from the quo warranto petition that ousted Sereno. Though he voted against Sereno's removal, Carpio said the latter committed culpable violation of the Constitution when she failed to submit all her statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth when she applied for the Chief Justice position in 2012. Carpio was appointed to the High Court by former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo in 2001 and is set to retire from the judiciary in 2019. The Supreme Court Public Information Office said the deadline for filing and completing all requirements is on July 26. The JBC kept the same requirements for applicants, including the submission of at least 10 statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth. To recall, the failure of Sereno to meet the 10 SAL-N requirement was among the grounds cited by the SC in ordering her ouster. The court invalidated her appointment in 2012 due to lack of proven integrity. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cabe.
The Court of Appeals has affirmed the Office of the Ombudsman's ruling on the dismissal of 2 officials of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. The 2 officials were involved in the anomalous release and use of 10 million pesos in the Priority Development Assistance Fund or PDAF of Quezon City Congressman Vincent Bingbong Crisologo in 2009. The CA Special 5th Division found Undersecretary Mateo Montano and Assistant Director Pasita Sarino guilty of gross neglect of duty and conduct prejudicial to the best interest of the service. The CA did not give weight to the petitioner's claim that the release of Crisologo's PDAF to the Caloocan Assistance Council Incorporated was compliant with the internal rules of the DSWD. The CA added that the petitioners failed to show proof that the KACI underwent the procedure for availment, release, and use of funds. It said the acts were in clear violation of the rules and regulations of the COA and the General Appropriations Act. The Presidential Electoral Tribunal has ordered the camps of Vice President Leni Robredo and former Senator Bongbong Marcos to pay 50,000 pesos each for violating the gag order regarding the vote recount for the 2016 vice presidential race. Both parties had been holding their separate press conferences and discussing the issues concerning the recount. Last April 10, the PET directed both parties to show cause and explain why they should not be cited in contempt for violating 2 resolutions ordering them to strictly observe the sub judice rule. However, several news reports showed that the parties continued to disclose sensitive information regarding the revision process to the public. Marcos filed a protest on June 29, 2016, claiming that the camp of Robredo cheated in the automated polls in May of that year. The Consultative Committee reviewing the Philippine Constitution has heard the voice of the Cordillera people seeking the conversion into an autonomous region as the country shifts to a federal form of government. More on this from Rom Dulfo.
Thousands took part in various consultations conducted by the CONCOM reviewing the Philippine Constitution in Baguio City on June 25 and 26. A pledge of support was also signed by the attendees on Tuesday, in which they signified their desire for an autonomous Cordillera towards federalism. CONCOM Commissioner Lawrence Waknang says he was happy over his fellow Cordillerans' expression of support to federalism. Commissioner Dr. Virgilio Bautista meanwhile clarifies the clamor for regional security is not possible due to the danger of raising private armies, as in the case of the Bangsamoro. Bautista assures the draft constitution is set to be given to President Rodrigo Duterte in early July, reflects the desires of both the Cordillera and the Bangsamoro. Meanwhile, Baguio City Mayor and Regional Development Council Chairman Mauricio Domogan expressed support to President Duterte's call for a shift to federalism through autonomy. Andres Ngaol, chairman of the Kalinga Bodong Council and the Regional Indigenous Peoples Education under DepEd, expressed satisfaction over the public consultation. Abra Vice Governor Ronald Balauas says their group, the Unified Cordillera People's Liberation Army, supports autonomy towards federalism. The support was echoed by Presidential Communications Operations Office Assistant Secretary Marie Rafael, a native of Mountain Province herself. The Center for Federalism and Constitutional Reform under DILG also launched the logo Federalismo, bearing the Philippine flag, an eagle, and the monument of national hero Dr. Jose Rizal. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
The Department of Interior and Local Government has ordered to speed up the release of financial assistance for the families of the policemen who were killed and injured in the misencounter in Samar. DILG OIC Secretary Eduardo Año says the financial assistance will come from the PNP's Comprehensive Social Benefits Program. Beneficiaries of police who are killed in action or killed in police operation will receive 500,000 pesos. Police who are wounded in action or wounded in police operations with total permanent physical disability will get 150,000 pesos each. Those who were wounded with major and minor injuries will receive 100,000 pesos. Their families will meanwhile receive shelter assistance worth 450,000 pesos. The wounded will also receive health care assistance from the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation and maintenance medicines from the Department of Health. Año says they will extend educational assistance to at least 2 children and other beneficiaries of the policemen. Still to come, the Office of the Solicitor General calls for the junking of the petition to allow same-sex marriages. 131 candidates in Negros Oriental failed to submit their Statement of Contributions and Expenditures or SOSE. These and more when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Naglungsad ang Task Force Bangon Marawi o TFBM ng Peace on Service Convergence Caravan and Humanitarian Activities sa Barangay Sugod, Marawi City. Layo ng programang ito na maghatid ng basic services sa mga nagbalik na mga residente ng naturang barangay. Dumalo ang mga kilalang personalidad para formal na buksan ang programa. Ang mga miyembrong ahensya naman ng TFBM ay nagsagawa ng iba't ibang interbensyon para sa mga naninirahan sa lugar katulad ng Department of Health o DOH na nagtayo ng medical check-up sa mga bata, matatanda at mga buntis. Ang 63rd Infantry Battalion naman mula sa Armed Forces of the Philippines o AFP ay nagbigay ng libreng gupit sa mga bata at matanda. Nagserbisyo rin sila ng libreng tuli sa mga kabataan ng lugar. Ang Department of Social Welfare and Development o DSWD namigay ng relief assistance. Ang Office of the Civil Defense o OCD naman ay namahagi ng family packs sa mga residente na naglalaman ng hygiene at sleeping kits, may kasama rin itong kitchenware. Samantala, ang World Food Program katuwang ang Australian Aid ay namahagi ng tig-10 kilo ng bigas sa bawat residente. Nagsagawa naman ang peace conversation ang Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace Process sa mga stakeholder ng barangay. Ang AFP katuwang ang Community and Family Services International o CFSI ay nagsagawa ng psychosocial healing para sa mga kabataang nagkaroon ng trauma dulot ng bakbakan na naganap sa Marawi. Ang ilang non-government organization naman namahagi ng sapatos at school kits sa mga mag-aaral ng Sugod Elementary School sa naturang barangay pa rin. Pinangunahan ni TFBM Chairman Secretary Eduardo Del Rosario at Marawi City Mayor Mahul Gandamra ang nasabing okasyon kasama ang mga representante ng mga katuwang na ahensya ng gobyerno, kasama si Laid Kabagani para sa Bayan, Sweet Lukman, Philippine Information Agency.
Solicitor General Jose Calida is asking the Supreme Court to dismiss the petition filed in May 2015 to include same-sex marriage in the Family Code. Calida argues that the petition filed by Jesus Nicardo Falsis III on May 18, 2015 has no basis in law. He maintains that marriage, as stated in the Constitution and traditionally conceived in the Philippines, has always been between a man and a woman. Calida also argued that limiting the definition of marriage as a union between a man and a woman under the Family Code is a valid exercise of the state's police power. He adds that it does not violate one's rights to due process and equal protection of laws and does not violate religious freedom. Falsis, who admitted being gay, sought the lifting of the prohibitions on same-sex marriage for being unconstitutional. He explained that limiting civil marriages to heterosexuals violated the provisions on equal treatment, undue interference to liberty rights, and marital autonomy. Financial experts say the peso's weakness against the US dollar can cut the country's trade deficit. More on this from Miguel Hill.
The depreciation of the peso against the US dollar can reduce the country's trade deficit over the medium term, according to the First Metro Investment Corporation and University of Asia and the Pacific. Economist Victor Abola says the peso's depreciation would discourage imports and produce more exports, thus reducing the trade deficits over the medium term. The increase in production locally will boost employment generation and give a boost to the peso income of exporters, those who supply raw materials to exporters, and families of overseas Filipino workers. The Philippine trade deficit reached a record $3.6 billion in April this year, bringing first 4 months deficit figure to $12.2 billion. A trade deficit occurs when a country's imports exceeds its exports. Abola, however, stressed that despite the peso's depreciation, imports of capital goods have shown robust growth. The two groups estimated that 46 million Filipinos will benefit from peso depreciation, including about 10 million OFWs. They attributed the peso depreciation to the projected acceleration of the U.S. economic growth for this year, the effects of U.S. tax cuts, and the Fed's moves to raise policy rates. FMIC and UANP also cited the foreign stock and bond market sell-off and the country's trade deficit. The peso-dollar exchange rate crossed the 53 pesos to the dollar mark on June 11. Days after, the peso slid further to some 5.8% higher than the 50 peso and 40 centavos average in 2017. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Miguel Hill.
Oriental Peninsula Resources Group Incorporated, ORE, is diversifying its investment portfolio by adding power generation to its mining business. ORE is acquiring almost a third of a renewable energy company, which is majority owned by its affiliate Oriental Energy and Power Generation Corporation. Oriental Peninsula said in a disclosure that its board has approved a subscription to 300 million pesos worth of common shares in Oriental Energy at the par value of 100 pesos per share. The subscription will result in a 30% ownership in Oriental Energy. The board also approved its entry into a corporate guarantee for Oriental Energy with the Development Bank of the Philippines, or DBP, for a loan of up to 2 billion pesos. The amount will partially finance the construction of an 18-megawatt hydropower plant in Timbaban, Madalag, Aklan. The Timbaban hydropower plant is scheduled to start operations before the feed-in tariff expires at the end of 2019. 131 candidates in the Sangguniang Kabataan and Barangay elections last May 14 in Dumaguete City failed to beat the deadline set by the Commission on Elections for filing of their Statements of Contribution and Expenditures, or SOSE. COMELEC records show that 1 week after the deadline for submission, which was June 13, a total of 82 candidates for Barangay Kagawad or councilors were not able to file their expenditures. Others who also failed to do the same were 5 candidates for Punong Barangays, 8 candidates for Sangguniang Kabataan Chairman, and 36 candidates for SK Councilor. City Election Officer Hildu Agoncillo said that all the winners have complied with the requirements, while most of the losing candidates failed to file their SOSE. Only Barangays Poblacion 3, Poblacion 5, and Poblacion 6 have submitted their SOSE on time. Those who failed to file their SOSE are advised to file them personally with the COMELEC Manila with an attached explanation. The penalty for the first offense is a meager amount, but for the second and third offense, this would mean perpetual disqualification from holding public office in addition to the fines. The Department of Public Works and Highways is set to order the closure of a bridge connecting a section of the north side of Davao City for repairs. DPWH Region 11 spokesperson Dean Ortiz said they held the dry run for the closing of Talomo Bridge at the start of classes, during which heavy traffic extended from downtown to the north side. Ortiz reminds motorists to continue expecting heavy traffic as the repair and widening of the bridge will last for about a year. Alternate routes are being set up, particularly for large vehicles. The repair of the bridge is set to begin anytime before December. Up next, President Duterte forms a team that will hold a dialogue with the religious sector. The National Commission for Culture and the Arts honors Kalinga tattoo artist Apo Wangod for her contributions to Filipino culture. These and more when the PNA Newsroom returns. President Rodrigo Duterte has formed a three-man team to initiate dialogue with the Catholic Church and other religious sectors to tackle several issues between the religious sector and the government. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque says the three-man panel is composed of himself, Commissioner Pastor Boy Saicon of the EDSA People Power Commission, and Foreign Affairs Secretary Undersecretary Ernesto Abella. The decision of the president came as several religious figures took notice of his remark about God in his speech at the National ICT Summit in Davao City. In his speech, the president stressed that it did not make sense how God created something perfect and then would think of an event that would tempt and destroy it. The president's decision also came on heels of the call for dialogue from the Philippine Council of Evangelical Churches in the Philippines to lessen bitter statements between the religious sector and the government. Roque, however, maintained that there is a separation of the church and state and that while there is no need for a dialogue, the president felt that it was the right thing to do. He said the agenda in the prospective dialogue should aim to improve relationships and resolve certain issues. A member of the Davao del Norte Provincial Crime Laboratory Office is now under restrictive custody after testing positive for illegal drug use during a random drug test last June 21st. Chief Inspector Milgrace Driz, spokesperson of Police Regional Office 11, says the drug test result released on Monday showed that PO2 Felix Berto de Castro III, assigned at DNPPO Crime Lab, was positive for illegal drug use. Driz said De Castro was immediately placed in the custody of the police and holding accounting unit for the pre-charge investigation. Chief Superintendent Manuel Gerlan, Pro 11 chief, says he has ordered an expeditious probe on De Castro to fast-track the summary dismissal proceedings. Gerlan also ordered the recall of De Castro's firearms, PNP badge, and identification card. Driz said the PRO 11 remains consistent with the PNP's thrust to cleanse its ranks. Based on records, 7 police officers were already dismissed from the service, 1 demoted, 10 suspended, 3 reprimanded, and 41 exonerated of various administrative cases from January to May 2018. 2 teams from Negros Occidental will play for the Philippines in the Asia-Pacific Softball Championships on June 27 to July 2 in Singapore. The teams are flying to the host country today to start their campaign to qualify for this year's Little League World Series in the United States. Team consultant Antonio Oquindo said both teams are composed of players from various towns and cities in Negros Occidental. The Little League lineup, mentored by Luz Biminda Halandoni with Ernesto Liguaton and Ramil Halandoni, defended their Philippine Series title with a 13-3 rout of Cavite to earn another right to represent the country in the ASPAC Series. Meanwhile, the Junior League team, coached by Rosel Julieza with Eileen Cabaybay and Rizal Roy Garay, edged Pasig 3-1 to book a trip to the Singapore Championships. The 2 teams, which will carry the name Negros First Selection, have received financial assistance from both the province of Negros Occidental and the city of Bacolod. The National Commission for Culture and the Arts has honored tattoo artist Apo Wang-od for her contributions to Filipino culture as a master of the traditional Kalinga tattoo arts. More on this from Benj Bondok.
The National Commission for Culture and the Arts conferred on Apo Wang-od, Kalinga's oldest living tattoo artist, the Dangal ng Haraya Award. NCCA Executive Director Virgilio Almario turned over the award to Wang-od in Tabuk, Kalinga, witnessed by local officials led by Kalinga Governor Josel Baak and Presidential Communications Operations Office Undersecretary Lorraine Badoy. Maria Wang-od Ogay, who is over a century old, is a mambabatok or tattooist from Barangay Buscalan in Tinglayan Town, Kalinga. She does the art the traditional way by using a wood attached with a thorn from a citrus tree and ink from natural dye and salt. She tattoos without any chemical anesthetic. In the certificate given by NCCA, Ina Wang-od was hailed for her contribution in the promulgation and preservation of Butbut Kalinga traditional tattoo known as batok or watok, and engendering greater attention and awareness to Philippine traditional art practices and intangible cultural heritage. According to Kalinga folks, the But-But tribe is a group of warriors where the men are entitled to get a tattoo once they win a battle against other tribes as a recognition of their bravery. Among the tattoos she has created are traditional designs and patterns that reflect the Kalinga people's view and philosophy in life, particularly their concepts of life cycle, the community, and the beauty of their surroundings. Almario said Wang Od and the art she continues to pursue is a treasure that must be preserved. At present, Wang Od does the tattooing with her grandnieces, continuously training and passing on the cultural heritage to them. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondo.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Here's another look at today's top stories. The Integrated Bar of the Philippines endorses the nomination of Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio as the next Chief Justice. Cordillerans express support for the shift to federalism as the Cordillera region seeks autonomy. The Office of the Solicitor General calls for the junking of the petition to allow same-sex marriages. And the National Commission for Culture and the Arts honors Kalinga tattoo artist Apo Wang Od for her contributions to Filipino culture. Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And remember, you can only learn new things when you empty your cup. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I'm William Theo. Good day.